Long ago, in the land of Israel, two great armies stood facing one another across a wide valley. On one side stood the Israelites, chosen by God. On the other side stood the mighty Philistines, fierce warriors who wanted to conquer Israel. Day after day, both armies waited, but fear filled the hearts of Israel's soldiers. Every morning, a terrifying giant named Goliath walked into the valley. Standing nearly 9 feet tall, wearing heavy bronze armor, he challenged the Israelites to send one man to fight him. His booming voice echoed across the mountains, filling everyone with fear. King Saul and all the soldiers looked at the giant with terror. No one dared to accept his challenge. Every day the same fear grew strong. Not far away lived a young shepherd named David. While others trained for war, David spent his days caring for his father's sheep. Alone in the quiet fields, he worshiped God and learned to trust him completely. One morning, David's father Jesse asked him to carry food to his 3 older brothers serving in King Saul's army. David obeyed immediately. Early the next morning, David left his sheep in the care of another shepherd and obeyed his father's instructions. Carrying bread, roasted grain, and cheese for his brothers, he traveled to the Valley of Elah. As he reached the camp, the armies of Israel were marching into battle positions, shouting their war cries. David hurried to greet his brothers. Suddenly, a thunderous voice echoed across the valley. It was Goliath, the Philistine giant, once again challenging Israel to send a champion to fight him. David listened and insulted the army of Israel. Every soldier around him stood frozen with fear. But David could not understand why no one would stand against this giant. Instead of seeing an unbeatable enemy, David saw a man who was boldly dishonoring God. He began asking the soldiers, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His words surprised everyone around him. News of David's bold words quickly reached King Saul, and the young shepherd was brought before the king. Looking at David, Saul doubted that someone so young could defeat such an experienced warrior. But David respectfully explained that while protecting his father's sheep, God had already helped him defeat both a lion and a bear. The same God who delivered him before would also deliver him from Goliath. David's confidence came not from his own wanting to protect the young shepherd. King Saul placed his own bronze armor on David. He fastened a helmet on David's head and gave him a sword. David tried to walk, but the armor was heavy and uncomfortable because he had never trained with it. He realized that victory would not come through someone else's equipment, but through trusting God. David respectfully removed the heavy armor and returned the sword. Instead, he picked up the simple tools he knew well, a shepherd's staff, his leather sling, and complete trust in God. Then he walked toward a nearby stream and carefully selected 5 smooth stones. With these simple things, David prepared to face the giant. With only his staff, sling, and 5 stones, David stepped into the valley. Every eye watched him. The Israelite soldiers wondered how such a young shepherd could possibly survive. Across the valley, Goliath noticed David approaching and prepared to meet him. When Goliath saw that his opponent was only a young shepherd, he laughed with contempt. He mocked David and cursed him before his gods. "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" the giant shouted. Goliath promised to defeat David easily, believing that victory belonged to strength alone. David answered without fear, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." David declared that everyone would know the Lord saves not by sword or spear, because the battle belongs to the Lord. As Goliath rushed toward him, David ran forward with courage. Reaching into his shepherd's bag, he took one smooth stone, placed it in his sling, and swung it with all his strength. The stone flew through the air with remarkable speed. The stone struck Goliath squarely on the forehead. The mighty giant staggered and fell face down onto the ground. Silence filled the valley for a brief moment. Then everyone realized that God had given victory to David. As soon as the Philistines saw their champion had fallen, they turned and fled. The Israelites shouted with joy and charged forward, pursuing the enemy. What began as a day of fear ended as a day of great victory because one young man trusted completely in God. After the battle, King Saul asked about the young shepherd who had defeated the giant. David stood before the king with humility. He did not boast about his victory or claim glory for himself. Instead, his courage pointed everyone toward the power of the living God. The story of David and Goliath reminds us that true victory does not come from size, strength, or human ability. It comes from trusting God with all our hearts. Every one of us faces giants in life: fear, sickness, disappointment, or uncertainty. But the same God who strengthened David is still faithful today. When we place our confidence in Him, no challenge is greater than His power. As Scripture reminds us, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." May we walk each day with the same faith that David showed in the Valley of Elah. Thank you for watching this Bible story. If this message encouraged you, please like this video, subscribe.